We have a lot to talk about today. What if I told you that the most feared agency in America is finished? What if I told you that the IRS, the same one that hounded workers, business owners, and retirees for decades, has just been replaced? And nobody in mainstream media wants to talk about it? Well, President Trump's brand new system, the External Revenue Service, is now live, and it's already rewriting the rules of the economy. And as it's happening, the U.S. housing market, well, it just snapped. We're seeing sellers panic, massive price cuts, buyers are walking away. Are you guys seeing this? And the worst March in real estate since the 2008-2009 crash, confirmed by the Wall Street Journal. But don't get it twisted, guys. This isn't Trump's fault. If anything, he saw it coming. I mean, while the old system crumbles, taxes, housing, inflation, Trump is building something entirely new. And it just might be the lifeline that millions of Americans didn't know that they were waiting for. In fact, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, no income tax for anyone earning under $200,000 a year. And the IRS, they get gutted. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you guys through exactly how President Trump's new system works, why the housing market just imploded, and why this clash between the two collapsing giants, the IRS and the housing bubble, could change everything that you thought that you knew about money, taxes, and real estate, guys. So if you appreciate the daily news updates, hit the like button, definitely subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support, y'all. I want to uncover these hidden reasons that sellers are now slashing their prices, the brutal math behind why the buyers still can't afford homes, and how the people's IRS could flip the power structure of America overnight. Now, if you happen to be a renter or a homeowner struggling with increasing rent prices or increasing property taxes or increasing homeowners insurance premiums, drop a quick yes in the comments down below. All right, guys, so stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what's collapsing, what's rising, and what you can do before it's too late. All right, so let's break down what just happened. So on the 100th day of President Trump being back in office, he walked into the West Wing and he pulled the pin on a bureaucratic grenade. Now, guys, this wasn't just another photo op. This was President Trump doing what no other president has dared to do, announcing that the IRS as we know it is done. That's right, guys. So right there in the White House cabinet room, surrounded by his top lieutenants, Elon Musk, JD Vance, and a who's who of policy disruptors, President Trump unveiled the operational launch of the External Revenue Service. Now, he called it the People's IRS, but the media is already calling it the anti-IRS, and they're not wrong. This is not a tweak. This is a full-scale takedown of the IRS and a reset of how taxes, power, and productivity are handled right here in America. And here's what's really wild about this whole thing. It's already live. Like, this isn't coming next year or buried in some red tape. It's already being implemented right now. Now, President Trump's new tax plan is doing something that nobody thought was possible. He's slashing taxes, not just for corporations and the wealthy, but for working class Americans. You earn tips, no tax. You work overtime, no tax. You collect Social Security, no tax. You make under $200,000 a year, no income tax, period. Like, is anybody a fan of these things? If you are, drop a quick yes down below. If you're on Social Security, working overtime, or earning tips, or make under $200,000 a year, are you okay with Trump's plan? Please drop a yes or no in the comments down below, guys. And that's not some campaign promise. That's the very foundation of a new proposal that they're calling the One Big Beautiful Bill. President Trump, he says it's the largest tax. He says it's the largest tax cut in American history. And folks, let me tell you something. This isn't just about taxes. This is about freedom, okay? Freedom from a system that's just punished productivity and rewarded bureaucracy. I cannot be the only one who's done with this, right? But you want to know what's really making this move such a historic activity here? It's what's collapsing in real time while Trump's new system goes live. So, of course, we're going to dive right into the numbers because the US housing market just hit the brakes pretty hard. In fact, the Wall Street Journal is now saying that it's the worst March since 2009. And I'm going to show you the map, the actual panic. Guys, we are going to talk about the panic listings, the actual cities, the exact cities where sellers are slashing $90,000 off their homes and still can't find a buyer. Oh, keep watching because the next few minutes could change the way you think about where America is headed and where you should go. Okay. Now, let me know, are you thinking about moving to a different state, maybe a different city, or are you thinking about moving outside of the country, outside the United States? Let me know what you guys are, what you're thinking about right now. So the first question that a lot of critics are screaming right now is this: if there's no income tax under this new system, how is Trump going to pay for everything? Well, I think it's pretty simple. He's not depending on your paycheck anymore. He's flipping the script with something that's already been working: tariffs. So under the External Revenue Service, the goal is to shift the burden away from hardworking Americans like me and you and onto foreign companies, foreign corporations that have been profiting off of us for decades. President Trump's already implementing 145% tariffs on Chinese imports. His Treasury Secretary, Scott Bennett, he said it outright. We're moving toward an external tax system, a consumer-based revenue model. And let's not forget, back in his first term, when tariffs were in full force, inflation was nearly zero. Unemployment was low. America was booming. So now that the External Revenue Service is up and running, those tariffs, they're not just punishment, they're fuel. They're paying for the tax cuts without printing money or raising taxes on working Americans. So Trump's not just replacing a tax collection agency. He's dismantling what he believes is one of the most corrupt, weaponized institutions in the federal government. For years, the IRS has been criticized for political targeting, endless red tape, and an audit system that punishes small business owners and rewards loopholes for the elite. Trump calls the old IRS an outdated, abusive, and bloated arm of government control. And now, looks like that arm is about to get chopped off. Audits being restructured, penalties being streamlined, collections getting moved to a leaner, digitally audited system that collects and basically cuts out the middlemen, the lobbyists, and all these different paper pushers. And let me be clear, guys, this isn't about Trump. This is about a battle between two different Americas, one that's collapsing under the weight of inflation, debt, and regulation, and another one that's trying to rise up and bring control back to the people. But of course, while the IRS is being torn down brick by brick, another system is cracking just as fast. And that, my friends, is the US housing market. Now, of course, I need to talk to you guys about this, basically the conglomerate of real estate sellers from Florida all the way to California that are slashing prices by $30,000 to $90,000 and unfortunately still cannot move their homes. Guys, the crash isn't coming. It's already here. So stick with me because I'm going to expose the exact places where panic is setting in and why this market just snapped. So while Trump was launching the External Revenue Service in Washington, D.C., something terrifying was happening across the country. Guys, we're talking about that something that could affect the value of your home, your neighborhood, and your financial future. I mean, I read somewhere that the largest asset that most Americans have is their home. Does that sound like you? Is your greatest asset or your biggest asset your home? Well, the housing market just snapped. And not in some abstract Wall Street sense. I mean, sellers are actually slashing their prices. Homes are sitting around unsold. The days on market is continuously increasing, and the numbers are worse than anyone expected. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, March home sales dropped 5.9%. Now, when you think about that for a second, that's the worst March in over a decade and the slowest pace we've seen since the Great Recession in 2008 and 2009. And remember, this is supposed to be the hot season. Spring is always the bounce back quarter. But this year, something's different. Buyers are ghosting the market and sellers are panicking. In Florida, where the boom was strongest during the pandemic, it's now one of the first states breaking under pressure. KB Homes, one of the biggest builders in the country, they just admitted that they had to slash prices by over $30,000 per home in the Sunshine State just to stay alive. And that's not even the worst of it. In Venice, Florida, there's a single family home. It dropped from $449,000 to $360,000. Guys, that's a $90,000 cut. And it's still sitting unsold after 10 months being on the market. In Dallas, I found a house that was located in north of the city. They've slashed the price $85,000, and it's been sitting on Zillow since August of last year. In San Diego, there's a townhouse just dropped their price by $50,000 overnight. Back in this is basically going all the way back to 2022 pricing, but the owner still wants to double their 2017 purchase price. Well, guys, this is desperation disguised as price adjustment. Sellers are waking up late to essentially a brutal reality. Hey, look, the party's over. And so now we're seeing sellers try to profit off of these pandemic bubbles that have already burst, while buyers are sitting on the sidelines and they're watching the floor fall out from under them. And it's happening not just in Florida, but it's also happening across all the way to the other side of the United States, all the way in California. We're seeing it in Texas, Arizona, Oregon, Colorado, and more. So we're gonna cover the exact states, guys, where some home prices are falling month after month with no bottom in sight. So we need to dig into the one force that's making this collapse even worse, the massive bid-ask spread that's freezing the market and exposing just how unaffordable homes still are, even after these cuts. Now, real quick question, guys. Do you guys think that the housing market is still overpriced? Do you think that the housing market is still unaffordable? Like, is it unaffordable in your area, or just do you think it is across the board in all 50 states? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys, because what I'm about to share with you guys might be the most important information you're going to hear in about a year. So we've already seen the panic at the local level, but now let's zoom out for a second, because what's happening in Florida and Texas, it's not isolated. It's actually spreading. Now, according to new housing data from multiple different sources, anywhere from Zillow to Realtor.com home values dropped in nearly half of U.S. states in March alone. Now, that's not seasonal. That's not a fluke. That is a full-scale correction in motion. Now, here's where values are falling right now. You got Florida, Georgia, Colorado, Arizona, Oregon, and Washington. But the list keeps growing. In fact, this is how housing downturns work. They start in boom markets, the places where the prices shot up the fastest, and then they spread, right? And so first, they spread to the nearby cities, then across state lines until it's national. And this time, it's being made worse by something that nobody's talking about in the mainstream media, the bid-ask spread. Now, let me just explain this in plain English, right? Layman's terms. Because it's the single biggest reason that the housing market is frozen and nobody can sell. Here's what's happening. So buyers today, regular working class Americans, they can only afford a home that costs between $300,000 to $350,000. And that's pretty much the hard limit. Why? Well, it's because mortgage rates are still above 7%. Inflation really hasn't gone down, hasn't gone away, and wages have not yet caught up. In fact, the average mortgage payment is now 38% of household income. This is one of the worst affordability levels in over 72 years. Now, we've only seen numbers this bad like twice, once in 2006, right before the crash, and again in 1981 when mortgage rates hit 18%. So meanwhile, sellers, they're still trying to unload homes at $400,000, $450K, even $500K. And these homes are not pricing for reality. They're pricing for nostalgia. And that's why these homes are sitting. That's why offers are dying. That's why inventory is starting to stack up. This is called the bid-ask spread. This is the gap between what buyers can actually pay and what sellers think that they're entitled to. And until this gap closes, the market stays frozen. Sales collapse, prices fall, and every month we go, without a correction, just pretty much makes the eventual drop harder and sharper. So here's the twist that most people are missing. At the exact same moment that this housing collapse is accelerating, Trump's external revenue system is rising. The old IRS system's falling apart, and so is real estate. But one is being rebuilt. The other is imploding. So I'm going to share with you guys how Trump's tax revolution is being seen as the solution to the crash, to this collapse, and why the housing crisis is symbolic of a much bigger shift in power. Now, if you guys are just now joining the live, please take a second, hit the like button for the video. Definitely subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate that. So let's talk about brass tacks, because at the core of this housing freeze is something most experts don't even want to say out loud. Buying a home in America right now is objectively unaffordable. And I'm not talking about vibes. I'm talking about data going all the way back like 7 decades. The mortgage to income ratio, that is how much your paycheck goes to cover your home. Well, it's sitting at 38% right now. That is way above the historic average of 29%. And the 38% number, well, we've only seen it twice before. We saw it once during the 2006 housing bubble, and again in 1981 when interest rates hit an insane 18%. So both of these movements, they were followed by major market resets. So what do you think is going to happen next, guys? This isn't sustainable. The average household earns around $83,000 a year. Now, I don't know if you earn more than that or less than that $83,000 per year, but that's the average household. And after taxes, insurance, and everything else, the median American can't afford to buy a median home. That's the crisis we're in right now. And so as the housing market unravels with bloated pricing and unrealistic sellers, Trump's new system is offering something we haven't had in years. Hope. Because while affordability in housing is imploding, affordability in taxation is being restored. Trump isn't just taxing your tips. In fact, Trump is not interested in taxing your tips. He's not taxing your overtime. He's removing income tax for tens of millions of Americans who are just trying to stay afloat. So we've got one system, the IRS-fueled, inflation-driven, asset bubble pumping system, collapsing under its own weight. But then we have another system. This is the External Revenue Service, powered by tariffs and basically built on fairness, rising above the wreckage. And so, guys, this is symbolic. This is not just about taxes or mortgages. This is a paradigm shift. You've got one America is fading and essentially another America is just starting to take form. And if you think the mainstream media narrative has your back, wait until you see what they've been telling people about the housing market. Now, guys, I want to go ahead and I want to pull the curtain back. I want to expose the bad advice that's still floating around on YouTube, especially in different real estate circles from, I'm not going to call any people out, but I'll just say there's some bad advice out there. Now, for years, we've been told the same thing over and over and over. Real estate always goes up. Time in the market beats timing the market. Just buy now. You'll be fine in the long run. Well, I have news for you guys. That advice is kind of outdated. Some of it's dangerous, and some of it's just completely disconnected from the reality in 2025. So some of these talking heads, they mean well, but they're ignoring the data. So for more than a century, from 1890 to 1998, you got housing prices essentially tracking inflation. For that whole time period, that's a little over 100 years. And they were stable, they were predictable, they were sensible. But then, of course, came the 2006 bubble. And now we're in an even bigger one. Inflation adjusted prices are at their highest levels of all time. In fact, they're higher than 2006. They're higher than 1981. They're higher than anything we've ever seen. It's so risky because the truth is that the bubble doesn't care about your 30-year plan. If you buy at the top, it could take you a whole decade just to recover, if ever. And so at this time, the cracks are pretty visible. The collapse isn't coming, it's already here. But let me be blunt, guys. This isn't just going to resolve itself in the next few months. If history is any guide, we are still in the early innings of a multi-year housing correction. So remember, you guys remember the last real estate crash? It took like 5 years to play out, from 2007 to right around 2012, 2013. Well, this one, we're maybe about a year and a half in. Experts are saying a variety of things, but expect to see more price cuts, more listings sitting, more sellers waking up too late, and more buyers basically staying on the sidelines because they've finally realized waiting is power. Could we see stabilization by 2026? Maybe. But if only Trump's new system, the External Revenue Service, the tariff-based funding model, the inflation reduction strategy actually takes hold and restores affordability. Because if not, well, the market could spiral out of control and we could see the same kind of chaos that we saw back in 2008, but with even higher stakes. So here's the bottom line. The IRS is collapsing. The housing market's cracking, but something new and maybe even better is taking place. Trump's External Revenue Service is live. The housing bubble, it's bursting. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? Now, if you want to stay ahead of this shift financially and politically, make sure you like this video, drop a quick comment, and subscribe for more deep dives like this one. Because guys, mainstream media won't say it, but I will. The system is changing, and only those who adapt will survive. So if you guys appreciate the updates, hit the like button, subscribe. We'll see you on the next video. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.